You've lived a great life and done well for yourself. But what mark will you leave on the world? How will you inspire future generations? Stan Miller and Katie Beth Hand have helped thousands of people answer exactly those questions. If you've ever wondered, what will be my legacy? You're in the right place. Welcome to the Your Life, Your Legacy podcast. Now, here are your hosts, Stan and Katie Beth.
Welcome back to the Your Life, Your Legacy podcast with your host, Stan Miller. Our guest today is Stephen Easter and Nick Starnes. Both of these guys are with the Arkansas Food Bank, and today we're going to learn a lot about the Arkansas Food Bank works and what role you as a listener could play in it. So, guys, welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Stan.
So, as we get into the conversation, I'm guessing you guys didn't go to college with the idea of, becoming food bank guys. So tell me about the transition of your life that resulted in your becoming connected to the Arkansas Food Bank.
Yeah, so this is Nick here. You said this is a 30-minute podcast. Let me try to summarize. I'm always amazed at college students that go to school knowing what they want to do with their life in the first place. But I did know that I wanted to help people in some way. I worked with churches for about 15 years before getting into the nonprofit world. And this way, I've worked with organizations that work with victims of sexual abuse. I've worked in public media fundraising with Arkansas PBS. Been with the food bank for a little while, mostly because I want to do something that makes a difference that people can be inspired by and their lives can be enriched by.
Good. So how long have you been involved with the Arkansas Food Bank?
So Stephen and I probably have a similar tenure, but we've been here for about a year and a half.
Okay. So Stephen, what's your story?
So yeah, I'm Stephen Easter. I'm the food sourcing director here at the Arkansas Food Bank. And yeah, I had no idea that this is what I was going to end up at. I went to college and got a degree in finance, never used it. Did a stint in retail. I actually grew up on a rice farm in Northeast Arkansas. So that's what kind of cut my teeth on working and realizing just how hot it gets in Arkansas. But then, yeah, I did retail and sales for a long time. And then I managed a warehouse for about 7 years. And kind of like Nick, just realized that I wanted to do something different, something to kind of have an impact. And I just had been applying for jobs, and the food bank recruiter called, and I said yes. So, like I said, been here about a year and a half and enjoying every minute of it.
Guys, I've read that there are a lot more hungry people in America and in Arkansas than we know about. Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely. So you may not know this, you're listening on this may not know this, but Arkansas actually ranks #1 in food insecurity in the nation currently. And we've always been in one of those top spots. Unfortunately, we're #1 right now. And those people are not always who you might expect, those who are dealing with food insecurity. Sometimes it's people that are working 2 or 3 jobs and just can't make ends meet because of life circumstances. And there's no one face of hunger in Arkansas for sure.
I guess I say I'm very blessed. I lived in the rarefied atmosphere where I never think about food insecurity. The big question for my wife and I was, which restaurant are we going to tonight, right?
Right.
And so we don't think about this, but who is food insecure? Tell me a little bit more about what those people look like. Are they kids, adults? Is there a racial, ethnic issue there, age issue? Who's hungry?
So I don't want to just be spouting off facts and stats, but I think they're very powerful in this instance. We in Arkansas, 1 in 4 kids are food insecure, which is just flooring to me when I heard it. 1 in 4 kids, and a lot of that has to do with kids who can only rely on a meal at school. And so when they're not at school, getting one of the school breakfasts, which is a new piece of legislation that's just gone through, this free breakfast, or if they're not getting a free or reduced lunch, or if that's all they're getting at school and they go home and they don't know when their next meal is going to come from, they go through summertime, and that's another big meal gap. And so we work to fill those gaps. But we also have 1 in 9 seniors who are food insecure. And we pay attention to our families, to veterans, to those affected by disasters. So again, it's really hard to say that there's one face to hunger. It just affects everyone.
So when we think about kids who are hungry, what's the impact of that? Is there a physiological impact for that that has long-term consequences? What do we know about that?
Because actually, I'm not for sure if you're familiar with the backpack program. It was started in the state of Arkansas by a school teacher. She would notice that the kids that would typically be well behaved on during the week would come to school cranky on Monday, Tuesday. Well, because they weren't getting fed over the weekends. And so she started putting food in their backpacks. And it's nationwide now, but we've continued to do that. So I don't remember the number, but it's like 3,000 backpacks that we do that we'll pack up, send them food, and make sure that they have something to have for the weekend. And we're actually looking at getting ready to do our summer feeding program as well. We'll have those kind of same boxes sent to boys and girls clubs that the kids can take home, but will be more geared to feeding the whole family with those items.
Okay, so tell me about the Arkansas Food Bank. Where is it located? Is there just one location? Do you do all of this from one place, or what's your footprint?
So there are 6 food banks in the state of Arkansas. We are the largest, and we are located off 65th Street here in Little Rock. We service 33 counties in the state. Annually, we'll distribute about 42 million pounds of food, and we'll distribute about 3.5 million pounds each month, and 1 million pound of that being fresh produce as well.
So where does that come from? Who pays for it?
A large part of it is donations, whether it be from local distributors, retailers, production facilities. We get a lot of it from there. And then we do have a small budget for purchase. If there's something that we need to supplement our inventory with, I have a team here that will purchase those items to have on the shopping list for our 400 partner agencies, your local pantries and churches. They can go online and order the food that they need from us, and then we deliver it to them on site so that they can have it.
So where does that money in your budget come from? Is that a state appropriation or is those charitable contributions?
So this is Nick speaking, and I didn't mention it earlier, but I work on the development team with the food bank. And we receive funding through all kinds of channels. The generosity of individuals. We receive funding from businesses, from federal and state funding, just every possible avenue that we can receive funding from, we do.
So if somebody's hungry, how do they find out about you? And if they do find out about you, what's the next thing they do to make the connection and get food?
Yeah, so we are very blessed to work with over 400 partners of the food bank. And now a lot of those are pantries. A lot of those are also schools, some are senior centers, some are just various organizations throughout our 33 county reach. And if someone is food insecure, they can go to arkansasfoodbank.org. They can put in their zip code and it'll show them the closest pantries to them. It'll show them the hours of their operation. We also have a way to text find food to get the same kind of results. If you only have a phone, if you only have access to a phone, something like that.
Does that happen? I mean, do you guys get texts, people that are saying, I'm hungry? Does that happen?
Oh, every day. Every day. Yeah, people are constantly looking. People are just don't know where these resources are. Like I said, we work with 33 counties and we have multiple pantries in most of those counties. So the food is there. We have the food to give away. There's different reasons that people don't always access the food. Part of it is just knowledge of where to look, what to do. Some of it is just the stigmatization or the stigma behind asking for help and just, getting out there and doing that. And some programs, that help us provide food for people are notoriously difficult to apply for. And so we help people with that too, if they're trying to fill out an application for state assistance or for food, we have people that are dedicated to doing that at the food bank and we'll talk them through the application process. So we try to help a person in as many ways as possible get the food that they need.
So it's not uncommon for me to take an exit off of 630 and see a guy standing there at the intersection holding up a sign saying he's homeless, he's hungry. Do those guys call you? I mean, should I be giving that guy money or should I be giving him your phone number?
Either one, in all honesty, if your heart tells you to give him something, go for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you just give him our phone number or our website, we can connect him and plug him into the community to a place that's close to him. Like Nick was saying, we can, find food in any of our 33 counties, tell you what pantries are available, what services they provide, because we have some agencies that even have dental assistance. Where you can go in and get your teeth cleaned on certain weeks. So we try to do a lot of those different things. And even with the disaster relief, the storms, the weather that we had a couple weeks ago, we were contacted by Feeding America. We actually sent some emergency boxes to Northeast Arkansas. We've sent some stuff with the flooding up to, was it North Carolina? So we help in just many different ways. If there's someone in need, we're usually not far behind trying to get there to help.
Well, quite interesting. I'm curious to know if how many employees do you have?
We're right at about 90
Yeah.
currently.
Wow. Okay. And so those people get paid. So you guys have a real budget. So you do have to raise money to fund just the payroll for the work you do, right?
Yes.
We do.
So
We are lucky. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but we are lucky at my age. I have to say things as I think of them, or I totally forget them. But we are very lucky to have extremely low overhead and the kindness of others who have donated land and through capital campaigns, we've built some great resources. And so we can say now that 96 cents of every dollar donated goes towards programs at the food bank. So that's extremely rare in the nonprofit world, just in my own experience, but just pretty much anywhere. So yeah, we are able to fund a lot with a little.
is there a role for volunteers?
Oh, absolutely. We run 2 shifts of volunteers every day. And then is it 2 or 3 Saturdays now a month? Nick, what is it?
Oh, it is, don't get me lying, three Saturdays.
3 Saturdays,
Yeah.
and then we do a Tuesday night as well. So yes, there are lots of opportunities. We come in and you can help bag up potatoes. I purchase them in bulk so I can get them cheaper, and then we bag them up individually to hand out to the individuals. We get salvage from some local distribution centers that we need to go through and check the quality on. So we've got all kinds of great projects that we can use all the hands that we can get here at our facility.
We actually just honored our volunteers this morning at a volunteer breakfast. We're a food bank, we have to have food involved in our award ceremonies.
Of course, right. Yeah,
We are from Arkansas.
sure.
But
Right.
we had folks out today who completed close to 500 hours in 2024 of individual volunteering. As a group, we logged more than 50,000 hours this past year of volunteer work. And most of that is at the food bank. A lot of that is at mobile distributions. We have 2 warehouses, one in that we call our Delta branch in Lexa, Arkansas, and one in Warren. And so we have volunteers there as well, just people everywhere.
So you have people that make it like a regular practice this is part of what they do is they show up at the food bank and on a regular basis and volunteer.
Oh,
we
yeah.
do. We have regulars.
Yeah.
We have a guy today that we were just talking about, named Eugene, who logged so many hours that when today we recognized him as a outstanding volunteer, I had at least 2 or 3 coworkers who looked at me and said, I could have sworn he was on staff here. But we have people that carve out a really cool community up here at the food bank through volunteering.
And a lot of the high school students, since it's a requirement now for your senior year to have so many volunteer hours, we get bus loads from schools just every week that come up here and have their group of kids volunteer.
So do the volunteers have the opportunity ever to actually make a connection with the people that are hungry, the people that are actually seeking food?
Yeah, so as I was saying, there's quite a lot of the volunteering happens here at the food bank, but we also facilitate volunteering at our partner pantries. And so they are there for those pantries distributions where they see hundreds of families in one distribution. Or they work at a mobile distribution. And what I mean by that is there are some places that just don't have access to a pantry on a regular basis. And so we'll send what we call a pop-up pantry or a mobile distribution to that area.
Yeah.
And we'll use volunteers to help box and kit those pieces of food that we're going to be giving to the community and to hand them out in those places.
Yeah, interesting. So if somebody wanted to volunteer, how would they go about doing that?
Yeah, so you can go to arkansasfoodbank.org for just about anything that you'd like to do to get involved with the food bank. There's a volunteer tab at the top, and that's pretty easy to get signed up and immediately start helping out.
Okay. Well, I'm hoping, guys, that the story that you're sharing will inspire some folks to pick up the phone or go on the website and reach out to you. You know, one of the things that my co-host Katie Beth, who's on vacation today, but she and I both big advocates of believing that one of the most powerful things that families can do to positively impact younger generation family members is to get them involved in proactively in engaging in acts of generosity, not just talking about it or not just writing checks for it, but actually showing up physically somewhere and like engaging in it, like for real, so where they're actually doing things. And I think it is a really powerful thing to do with families. And I would think, is there anything that happens like around holiday time? I mean, Thanksgiving, Easter, or Christmas. Are there special times or special things? Are you noticing that families bringing the kids out to at Christmas, for instance, to work as part of what the family does over the holidays?
Yeah, Stephen, your last name is Easter. I feel like you need to field this one.
Right.
It is my holiday.
Yeah.
But yeah, especially around the holidays, we always see an uptick in donations and volunteers. And yeah, we can go down to the volunteer center. There's always usually a family or a group because we've even had some family, well, the churches will have a family night and they'll bring their entire congregation out and they'll come and work. And we'll usually find special projects for them to do. So yeah, you always see an uptick around the holidays. And one big thing that we're doing for the summer, it's the 25th anniversary of our summer cereal drive. Kind of what we were talking about similar earlier. All the kids will be out of school. So we were trying to find ways to get them food. And cereal was always a really good way, but we're expanding it this year to try to incorporate some healthier options. So like every dollar donated will buy, 3 pieces of breakfast fruit or healthy breakfast items. So you'll see us at several retailers, Walmart, Targets, different places with our tents, and people can go inside, purchase cereal, and bring it out and donate it right there. And then we'll have local pantries from whatever town we're in come pick it up so that they can feed their community.
Times of the year when it's more challenging for you guys than others. I mean, I would think around Christmas, people are feeling pretty generous, right? But
Right.
are there other times of the year whenever it's not like that, where it's more challenging for you?
I would say, just kind of going back to those winter months, really. Yes, people are very generous in the winter months, but it's psychologically very difficult for those who are experiencing hunger, especially at Thanksgiving and Christmas time, especially if at one time they've had that experience of the family gathering and sharing a meal together and all those times of abundance, or if they're just because they're seeing so much abundance around them, it can be a very, very difficult time for them. But there are other times, it ebbs and flows as far as volunteer work goes. Volunteers can come out and process food. But yeah, it's definitely a year-long issue that demands a year-long response.
Yeah, I guess people need to eat every day, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, any other challenges that you guys have that you'd be willing to share? I'm sure there are challenges, but any you care to talk about?
Well, I mean, the biggest challenge is where we stand in the nation for food insecurity. Obviously, we want to move the needle, and so we are really looking at the root causes of hunger. We are encouraging our pantries to offer wraparound services. I think Stephen mentioned a little bit earlier, some who have even dental stations where people can come and do other things that might take away funding for meals that they need. A lot of our pantries are working with employers and trying to get people employed if they're not. So, one of our biggest challenges is, I think, really discovering the root causes of hunger and where we can, being a major voice in addressing those things.
So, just in the couple of minutes we have remaining, help me drill into why is it that people are hungry? Is it that they don't have a job, they don't have money, they don't know how to manage their life very well? Are there patterns that we can observe that teach us why it is? I mean, I guess I understand why kids aren't hungry. It's because the parents aren't feeding them, right? But why is it that why are adults hungry?
Well,
There are,
Stephen, sorry, I just had something come to mind.
go for
Please add on to what I'm saying. But something that I always hear and say is that we're all one disaster away from being in the same boat. There are just so many things that happen in life. The people that I've spoken to who are experiencing hunger, again, there's no one specific type of person. There are people who have had life circumstances. There are people who don't have the same safety nets that a lot of us have in life with family and other resources. It's definitely not always that someone hasn't managed their money or resources well. There's so many factors.
And it's kind of crazy to think about, but there are 2 counties in our service area that don't have grocery stores. So there's a lot of families faced with the decision of, do I buy my prescriptions that I need, or do I spend the gas money to go, make that 30, 45-minute drive to get to go to the grocery store? And they're having to make that hard choice of which is more important. So that's
Yeah.
why we're really trying to get in those communities to make food more readily available, because the food's there. We just got to be able to get it to them.
We were actually honoring a group from Hampton this morning, a beta club from a high school there. And those kids had volunteered their time at mobile distributions in Hampton. And areas like Hampton and some of those places where they are, their access to grocery stores is not great. So they have to travel sometimes 20 miles away to get to a grocery store. And if you're already struggling, can't afford gas or need to spend that money on something else, then you don't have a lot of choice. So yeah.
Guys, for me, this is a window into like a whole different world for me, and very, very helpful. Any questions I haven't asked? Any thoughts you guys want to share before we wrap up?
I always just want to say thank you because I know a lot of the people that you're going to send this to or that are going to hear this are already donating to the food bank. And I see the kindness of people every day, and I'm always amazed by who we have in this state, individually, business groups, all these organizations that are really jumping in to help. And we need more, but thank you to those who are already doing it.
Yeah, definitely a big thank you for everyone for the advocacy. And our doors are always open. We love to give tours. We love to show people our facility. So if you would like to bring your law group down here, we'd love to just show you around, and just, it's kind of eye-opening. Like you said, a lot of people, you don't think about it every day. So just coming here and seeing it just kind of really makes you think about the big picture and what's really going on in our state.
Maybe we'll do that. Actually, we've had a couple of projects where we've done something like that, and so yeah, I'd like that. So you're out on 65th Street, and
Yes.
what you told me, what 90,000 square feet, more than about what 2 acres of building. So you guys
Yes.
are a major operation.
Yes, we have a massive warehouse, and then we have our volunteer center, and we actually have a conference room where actually different retail executives come and just have their regional meetings. So we can rent that room for anyone that'd like to bring their
Ah,
groups out and come up here.
yeah.
And yeah, we can do all kinds of things.
Yeah, a
So
lot of
you could
people
be
will
the
come out with business groups and they'll do half a day of team building in the conference room, and then they'll do half a day of volunteering. And they always have a
yeah.
great experience doing that.
Yeah.
Good idea. Good idea. Well, guys, great having this conversation. We're going to put all of your contact information in the show notes. Uh, with that, let me say thanks for listening. This has been the Your Life, Your Legacy podcast with your host, Stan Miller. Our guest today, Stephen Easter and Nick Starnes with the Arkansas Food Bank. Nick, Stephen, been a pleasure talking to you and learning from you today. Thanks for joining.
Thank
Really,
you.
thank you for having us.
Thanks for listening to the Your Life, Your Legacy podcast with Stan Miller and Katie Beth Hand. If you enjoyed the show, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. To find out more about Stan and Katie Beth, go to pinnaclelegacylaw.com. You can also find links in the show notes.